Hello. The Weathersfield police attached me to fake conversations with them when I was a kid and then as an adult. And they've been switching and forging names and refusing to get on paper since I was a kid. They increasingly have time collusions with people next to body dumping spots involved with organized crimes of mixed natures and doctors, foreign and domestic, attaching little kids around their own and the ones that were tied to the intimate ties of retired police chiefs from Weathersfield involved with the same house slash expedite sequence ships. Were involved with this. Not just I had the fake conversations of me being at the police station as a kid, now as an adult. Then they tried to cover that up years later. These are people that I weren't even in my classes in grammar school. Increasingly, people with the Leahy family and people with the name Lombardo are involved with sexual and medical offenders of kids, with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, with judges and prosecutors and victims advocates, collusions with such, all identity theft, fraud, slanders. There's a person that a Subby Bajario stole a speaker house from, a speaker box from, who's involved with a whole bunch of people next to the state capitol, involved with him. And Fred Gazet, he never came over my house. He came to in my area and made confessions to me. I didn't know his ties. I don't know, never asked them, but it's recorded other ways. He was one of the names involved with, predicate acts at the campuses I went to, with people involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, putting fake ties, fake things in databases, fake ties, fake natures of ties to people with other kids and their family members consciously planting evidences on all sides of people's houses and all sides of their houses, where consciously this breaching method keeps too. Worse than criminal incompetence regarding what James Madison and our founders behind him and his plan communicated. And then George Washington, who used that plan, they didn't even know about this. The psychiatrists. They're going to learn because I haven't been saying it, but it's recorded. George Washington, no one allows the honesty about the extortion of George Washington. No one had free speech. Oh, if they didn't have free speech, why did they tell us? Why is there the Constitution over it? In other words, even once James Madison became a president too, he still didn't have free speech. You guys have other communicated for what nature communicates and what our founders communicated for us. So this certain type of victim slash hyper victim forced to respond to this fact-driven nature, they don't know how to. So they come with diversity, equity, inclusion. Otherwise, encounters also not appreciating why and how there's needs. Concentrated for people to speak about another. Every nature of difference, of their own differences of others, the people, the sciences, including the law, and the voices of it individually grouped together. It is it has been self-valued abridged, communicating other than nature communicated, and then our founders communicated for us to understand at each age of fact-driven nature, sickly distinctly too. Sickly tactical ulterior. From what I found, they were placed right from the founders' communications about the human fact-driven nature breaching method, about where at all locations and how and why. Because of the breaching method, everyone had to pretend they had free speech too, to an extent. Otherwise, that body would be sensed, including if that body was the majority of people, including if it was everybody. Our founders wanted us to know clear as day. Before they were born, slavery was already entrenched, northern colonies, southern colonies. Other communicated for what nature communicates with black people's whites of eyes. And species volume science, where it generates all differences. See, but now differences are used by a system tactical ulterior in nature, which is hyper-native pure. Nature itself shows us the difference between president and chief is how both the presidents and chiefs are still being counter-extorted and extorted and enslaved and tortured. But nature's demonstrations of that and our founders, not just America's, they communicated other than is communicated for them. Selves. we're not supposed to blame the criminal foreign influences, leaving that out, that distinct nature of hyper-foreign, that both southern colonies and northern colonies, sickly distinctly, but also sickly non-distinctly per it. The hyper-foreign had them also sickly non-distinctly rules with slavery that no one wanted. No one wanted torture, extortion, slavery, little. All exceptions it had created. So it had the whole array. All differences, racket, self-pride rules. We have the same color eyes, different color eyes at the same time. Nature itself is teaching us about difference. It's showing us its own difference. The difference of that body that is not the other species' bodies. It is not our own species' body, but it is all things anyway. Here many pray, boxings. Pantheism was more probably about this, because it's how nature shows us to appreciate how we think. The experts on psychiatry and on psychology, the criminally foreign influence, tactically delusional, off track, human nature, acquire aspects of nature, of collusions. So the history experts, for example, holding back and replacing what is principle, like black pupils, white eyes, the significance of it, the breaching methods roles with it. Instead of teaching about the breaching methods roles of reassigning black pupils, white eyes, revelations, they have it blamed on other things, others themselves. They have the breaching method showed them they have to hide that and pretend their integrity anyway. That's how they could self-buy rules, blaming other things, others themselves. Blaming the very students they're supposed to be teaching. They're keeping the game going with differences, with their uses of their own or of others' people's. A whole bunch of people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed there's a detective Samuda involved with his difference, the pigment of his skin and other people's. He's involved with some sexual and medical offenders of kids, involved with falsified police reports. We're refusing to get on paper. He's involved with wire crime acts and methods with FBI Director Robert Luskin too. A whole bunch of people tied to women at Central Connecticut State University from other parts of the state and from other states and other countries, involved with people on Church Street in Old Wethersfield, involved with predicate acts with intelligence families since I was a kid near me. And it's also not personal. They're also needing to pretend that because they already hid things like the collusions with the principal child abuser that I caught them with first. And I still have a response to myself because once they do that, they're going to realize they're already caught. They've been stacking fake things in databases since I was a kid. In other words, watch what I caught them doing with Wethersfield Pizza. That's why they can't even call the other place involved. Because they probably already pretended I called them. They have wire crime acts and methods where they put fake and changed communications with the phones, including with the police, who have been roles with the faking and changing digital evidences, also with the police departments, families, and retired and the all sorts of like Whiting Forensics has whether Connecticut State Police and other state police from other states, FBI and judges and prosecutors with the same house/S with their extended family members. Roles also increasingly with retired mayors from Wethersfield, involved with a whole bunch of different countries, with overt criminal enterprise, sexual and medical offenders of kids, pretending passions, emotions, fake things, and fake ties, and nature of ties between people in databases. Roles of behavior, racketeering, worse than war crimes, where they act on both sides of issues, pretending that they don't realize their roles with all these other countries. Yukon has roles with the foreign and domestic military, involved with the name Kolvinskis and Mark Violet. I never had classes with them. They sought me out to record by themselves, to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm their rules with wire crimes, with multiple police departments, and falsified police reports roles, identity theft, fraud, slanders, with the educators too behind my back, and with people from off the campuses influencing the databases. They don't even know themselves, the educators. Everyone's just repeating fake things. Criminally foreign influence readings of statutes in legal terms and phrases, like, in other words, hearsay. The difference of it, in other words, they're making subject treatments, they're making mistakes on purpose. They're valuing that having been since founding Black pupils. It is time. These are some Black KKK, Confederate flag theme, Latino theme, identity theft, fraud, slanders, uses of their own differences of other people's difference, criminally foreign influence, tactical illusions, raw, and Italian too. Identity theft, fraud, slanders. The difference of from their collusions with differences. Countries A through Z, how they're there together. In other words, please. And what are they doing with the spots and names next to where the Wethersfield Police Department is now? And these people, in other words, no one's following mandated law. You're not supposed to attach me to fake conversations with WFS. We get them onto paper. I want them. They have the Wethersfield Police Chief Cintron is too much of a coward to get on paper. So he wants to have Jessica Cintron is involved with Reno Mazzucato. I never even met her. I barely know Reno Mazzucato. He was influenced to put fake ties, fake nature ties to me, try to make fake exceptions to make it look other. Also with Mike Roberts and educators associated with the Mike Roberts, involved with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and people involved with the state judicial branch offices. Also with a Victorian house. I don't know who lives at the Victorian house. I don't know their name. On 2-Route Highway. And all kinds of people in conjunction to them and their neighbors have rules of wire crime, mail crimes with foreign and domestic intelligence, overt criminal enterprises and private ones at the same time. People next to body dumping spots. See, the news has rules with all kinds of natures of methods of bad things with predicate acts of facts, wire crime acts and methods, and confessions. And then as a group, they pretend they don't realize. But they have the difference of their intelligence there or the intelligence next to them. Ones with badges, ones with gavels, criminally foreign influence, tactical collusions wrought, involved with the state judicial branch offices of Connecticut and the state corrections offices, increasingly with names next to body dumping spots, and the murderers, reportedly, like a serial killer, involved with names next to those body dumping spots, recorded also with the ones with UConn that are involved with Harvard Hospital and Central Connecticut State University, like with this Violet family. A bunch of people, Kolvinskis, people all along Route 175 from the founding locations in Old Wethersfield, still have roles with all kinds of natures of identity theft, fraud, slanders, and the conjunctions to that, including with the news increasingly planting evidence at corners of the streets. And then those people at the corners of the street on the school of the principal child abuser. It's their roles with people from Russia, people from Ukraine, with that same corner. Involved also with a Judge Smith, a Judge Killian, other judges I don't even know other names. One's related to family members that work of Dr. Shub of modern languages. In other words, these are people involved. All sides are used remotely. Slash criminally foreign influence / hyper criminally foreign influence. I'm not even a lawyer. In other words, they've been planting evidences intercities on and off my campuses with people on my street since I was a kid, who I also noted their roles with names next to campuses that I went to that they didn't even go to, and the names next to them are also involved with them with the intelligence, their roles with the intelligence through their careers, and retired people, criminally foreign influence, tactical collusions raw. You need to follow mandated law. Get them on paper, one name in sequence. I don't want a response for the principal child abuser's confessions, and I didn't even get to speak yet. They made it look like I spoke with him. This guy, they'll call back a whole bunch of times because you left a whole bunch of more confessions and recorded on my machine and other people's machine and confirmations and sent fake things into the records. They're planting fake things in records. Increasingly, there's a Leahy family involved with judges speaking fake things in records, putting fake transcripts with them, with FBI and their co-defendants and their family members too, putting lies about outcomes of criminal cases as collusions too with federal criminals in that case, in those cases, and their family members and their neighbors. Increasingly, people tied to a Leahy family are involved at Hartford Hospital, also with the owners of buildings next to it, like Tomorrow's Market, and their roles with the Isla's Kitchen, and my own family near Hartford Hospital. Increasingly, people at 3 spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike are increasingly roles with them, recording fake things, recording fake ties, fake natures of ties to people, keeping defenses of courts that are defenses of their collusion/S with all kind of criminally foreign influence uses and collusion/S at the judicial branch offices of Connecticut and at the corrections offices involved with wire crime acts, all kinds of drugs and medicines crimes, not legitimately unmarked police form. Oh, it's about that. They're changing and faking what everyone says on a mass scale, interstates. Not one identity of the names of the people of the sciences had integrity, where and how it counts black people. Period. In other words, get them on paper, one name in sequence. Sandy Hook also has child sex offenders involved with the people that run the prisons. These are people on and off the corrections offices that record, express, demonstrate, confirm. There's a Lance Cuddy involved too, further with child abusers, leaders of the kids. I never had a word of conversation with Lance Cuddy. Never saw him on the inside of a school in my life. He's involved with more people involved with the sexual and medical offenders of kids, and with a whole bunch of foreign and domestic intelligence, involved with Alina's Pizza on Park Street, involved also with the FBI director and his co-defendants and their neighbors and family members. We need to get them on paper, one name in sequence. And I want a response for the schools. There's a Michael Emmett involved too with a whole bunch of agencies and the extended family members of the people that live around me involved with more sexual and medical offenders of kids. You better get them on paper too, because they have people I don't know their names of involved with threats. We're going to do this peacefully on paper. They also caught themselves lying about what they think about privacy, and with exceptions, they're sequence shifting, and they're lying about their motivations with that to hide what came first. How they've been preventing people's free speech by stealing us the fake speech and changed communications. Fear. Get them on paper. Let's go. And have them police who disbelieve what I say get on here. They're lying about the significance of what people say. And they're having people say the wrong things so they go there. Oh, that makes you say. They're blocking real proper information. We could clear all the problems from here. Fake scientists spoke for New York City, as collusion/S, like where there was the highest murder rates, where the prisons are sicker than all get up. Collusion/S. You need to hide life progressions there. Roles as families too now, because they have kids and adults. The difference of that too was issues where they have people appreciate, but like pretend they could speak for integrity or sciences. With the way is hypernated pure. See president/chief. See our founders' words. Our founders' communications changed. What they declassified. We have the experts using their knowledge of good and evil to get over on principles proper black pupils. We have difference projected to us by nature itself that tells it better. We could delineate their delusions from their criminally foreign influence, fact, nature, quality aspects of nature. Forgiveness is because there are more influences from off the campuses, where there are hyper additional more and more at the campuses, with apparent needs, wasting time. Roles replacing what our founders communicated, replacing the very scientifically important to understand scientific value. That is true always. One of those things, those laws that were entrenched before our founders were born as a terrorism method, a torture, extortion, slavery method. Roles, because no, it was northern colonies and southern colonies, sickly distinctly, and possessions of other countries and the company, what they call companies in that. There's much that we have to discuss regarding the value of economic numbers and the syntax tie and exceptions, exception nature. black peoples. We are hyper native pure, and we have not had our history told proper. The rest of the colonists and the rest of the Native Americans had to be counter-extorted by those Native Americans and the founders, plural, behind James Madison, his plan that George Washington was demonstrably counter-extorted to help counter-extort other founders too, force them too, to help our founders who agreed, both Native Americans and colonists, their proofs. Because the Constitution was supposed to get this on a bridge. Box sings, like it just sings. And then there's a portion that didn't know what to do.